The distance an interface creates. Most harm is not carried out with bare hands. It arrives through buttons, forms, menus, and just following the steps. Automation often begins as convenience and ends as distance. Interfaces create distance between action and consequence by turning a moral and material relationship into a sequence of compliant gestures. The impact doesn't disappear. It becomes harder to see, easier to deny, and simpler to treat as how the system works. An interface is an abstraction layer. It compresses many real-world effects into a small set of choices. That compression is useful. It reduces complexity, increases speed, and makes coordination possible across large groups. But it also rearranges responsibility. Start with incentives. Organizations and individuals benefit from predictable throughput, fewer exceptions, fewer conversations, fewer delays. The interface rewards what can be counted. Tasks closed, time saved, orders processed, tickets resolved. When performance is measured through the interface becomes the world. A feedback loop forms. What is measured gets optimized, what is optimized gets normalized, what is normalized stops being questioned. Now name the constraint. Interfaces cannot carry every detail without becoming unusable. They must constrain what can be expressed. A limited set of categories, a mandatory field, a drop-down of acceptable reasons. The constraint is not only technical, it is social. It sets what is speakable. If a person's situation does not fit the available options, the interface quietly teaches that the situation is illegible. Consider the trade-off. Every abstraction trades fidelity for scale. When an interface simplifies, it makes some people easier to serve and others easier to exclude. It makes a process faster, but it can make care slower, because care often lives in nuance, the unlisted option, the context, the exception that is also a human life. Who benefits? Those who design and manage the system gain stability, lower costs, and clearer dashboards. Frontline workers benefit from reduced cognitive load and some protection. I did what the screen required. End users benefit when the interface truly matches their needs. Self-service, faster turnaround, fewer gatekeepers. Who bears the cost? People whose lives don't match the categories bear the externality of being misclassified. Workers bear the cost of moral injury when they must enforce a rule they did not choose but must apply. Communities bear the cost when automated decisions scale mistakes quickly and when the path to appeal is hidden behind more menus. Distance also arrives through time. Automation separates the moment of decision from the moment of consequence. A click triggers a chain, a record updates, a threshold is crossed, a notification is sent, an account is restricted. And because each step is small, no step feels like the moment when responsibility should speak. Interfaces also fragment responsibility across roles. The designer says, I only built the tool. The operator says, I only followed the tool. The manager says, I only set the target. The reviewer says, I only audited the sample. The system permits each person a clean conscience while still producing a dirty outcome. Responsibility is distributed, not dissolved. When action and consequence are separated, attention shifts from human impact to procedural correctness. Dignity becomes a property of the workflow, rather than a property of the person. Agency narrows to what the interface allows, and consent becomes ambiguous. People agree to terms they cannot negotiate and cannot meaningfully understand, because the interface is built to move them forward, not to honor their deliberation. This is how outcomes begin to feel natural rather than designed. The interface gives a subtle story. This is the only way it can be. And when something feels inevitable, responsibility feels optional. But systems are not weather. They encode values, what they permit, what they constrain, what they ignore. The danger is not automation itself. It is the quiet relocation of accountability to a place no one can reach. The human cost is often a loss of relationship. The interface becomes a substitute for encounter. It can protect privacy and create access, yes, but it can also remove the small acts that signal recognition. Being heard, being interpreted with generosity, being treated as more than a case type. Name the cost, not just the benefit. The cost is not only errors. It is a culture trained to accept harm as a normal output, because the harm is downstream and the screen looks clean. Notice where a screen turns a person into a category and a consequence into a status update. Consider how often allowed and not allowed replace what is owed and what is at stake. Name the moments when an interface makes a decision feel like a neutral fact, rather than a human choice embedded in constraints. Notice, too, the handoffs, where responsibility moves from builder to user to manager to policy, and where it becomes hard to locate. Consider what the system makes easy to do repeatedly, and what it makes difficult to question. Name what is being optimized, and what is being treated as an externality. An interface can be a bridge or a blindfold. Either way, the consequences remain ours to hold, without blame and without disappearance.